podcast. I'm your host Liam Stewart, and joining me today, as always, is my friend Dai Owen. Dai, it's a very special day today. Do you know why?
Is it because a year ago today is the day we met?
It is our anniversary, correct, but it's also my birthday.
But I can't get any retweets out of that, so
But that means we're gonna have a really good, really nice episode that's gonna be super easy to edit, and we're gonna fire it out for our lovely 6 listeners. So,
all right.
how have you been, Dai?
I've been all right. I mean, we've talked literally every day since the last podcast, so that question is 100% irrelevant. But I'm fine. How are you?
Yeah, I'm okay. I spent too much money shopping, and now I have to go eat food with Innes, who's coming back from the orphanage, so expect him on maybe an NXT TakeOver preview coming soon. So, so before we get started into episode 3 of NXT UK, I'd like to take this chance to advise all of you to go and check out the new first episode of a progress review that we just launched. We were both at chapter 77, so we gave our thoughts, had a little bit of discussion. Was meant to go 20 minutes, went an hour. Give it a check. It took way too much effort to edit, so please click on it.
Yeah, it was quite fun. I definitely want to cover more progress because it's probably what I consume most at the moment, apart from obviously NXT UK for the podcast. But progress, yeah, it's close to our hearts. We watch it a lot. We spend most of our time watching it, and we go to most shows. So be sure to check that out.
So speaking of progress, let's talk about the show that features 50% progress roster. So, NXT UK episode 3. Overall thoughts, Di?
It was good. Definitely a different format to last year. A couple of things missing that we'll get to later on. A couple of things in addition, which is definitely refreshing. But it's good that they're keeping it to a different format. And the quality of the wrestling was still very good. They're still introducing new
Yeah, it was
characters.
quite nice. I noticed that the overall shape of the show last time out I talked a lot and complained a lot about how there was like 6 or 7 video packages. This was, I think, 2 in a backstage interview. It was good. It was all about the wrestling.
Yeah.
Super long main event. So let's get jumping into the first match on the show. The former NXT Tag Team Champion Trent Seven versus Saxon Huxley, labelled Tarzan Jesus, I believe, by the crowd in attendance.
Yeah, that's probably the nicest and most PG nickname thus far from the UK crowd. Yeah, a decent showing for Saxon Huxley. Actually, it's nice that they're making use of the first round guys from the inaugural tournament in Blackpool.
Yeah, I did
That they're
ask
not just
you.
ditching them.
Yeah, I did ask you when he came out if he was one of the Forgotten Sons, because I completely mind blanked over who he was until I remembered that Jesus off that he had with Pastor William Eber.
Yeah,
God, that would not
who was the
fly
best
now.
Jesus?
Uh,
Yeah, not much to really say about the match. There was like a botched Luther's press that nearly broke Trent Seven's nose, I think.
yeah, that was scary. It seemed to be like it wasn't as if he was going for the full Luthez press, like the Austin punches. It was more like a wild man pounce, because I guess he's
Like a
meant to
vertical
be.
splash.
Yeah, I guess he's meant to be like a sort of Tarzan-esque, caveman character with like the knee pads he's got and the jungle print. But he just
Yeah.
kind of landed top heavy, which was a bit scary to watch.
I will say those weird like furry ankle covers that Huxley wears really annoy me. It's like Mickey James's flares. I don't know, little things like that just get on my tits.
Yeah, flares just seem like an inconvenience. Like, you accidentally stand on one of your own flares, and all of a sudden you've given the opponent
Yeah.
the advantage.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, nothing really much to say about the match. Trent won with a burning hammer, which I didn't realise WWE actually call a burning hammer. So
Yeah, which is good. Yeah. So straight from that, we're going to Flash Morgan Webster, and Mark Coffey's vignette. I think it was.
yeah, we
next.
get the flashback of the Albert Hall show with the Coffee
Yeah,
Brothers
that's right.
coming out and laying everyone out.
Yeah, and this was immediately followed by Webster's backstage interview with Rad's unpronounceable surname. He seemed confident, but it was definitely one of the most scripted promos we've
It
seen
was
thus
hero
far.
my catchphrase,
from
buy my
NXT.
merch, effectively. I'm a mod.
Kind of.
Um,
Yeah, it was a good promo, but it's not. What I like about NXT UK so far is that most of the promos have felt
yeah, until
unscripted,
now.
and this definitely felt separate to that.
I
Yeah.
will say I feel like NXT UK going forward, one of the two main things that I'd like to see changed, as well as the green screened in commentators backstage. That
Yeah.
and the interviewer need to go for me. I get
Really?
they've gone for someone British, Blue Peter and all that, but like I'd rather have someone American and good than British and bad. I can
I'll tell you who is the person we need for this occasion. Trevor McDonald, legendary ITV newsreader. Wouldn't he be just perfect for
It
this
would
role?
be superb. Or if you want to go full British, just get Mel back from Bake Off. Like people will watch just for that
Yeah,
alone.
yeah. I don't think the budget allows that.
So from there we go into the Flash Mark Coffey match itself, which I was super excited for going forward because, and I've said it time and time again, people who don't really watch Scottish wrestling because it's kind of self-involving and separate, like ICW, Discovery, SWA, don't really work with each other or other people. People who kind of just
Right.
watch the big shows like Fear and Loathing think that Joe Coffey is the best Coffey brother. Mark
Yeah.
Coffey, despite the fact that until a year ago he was, the tag team champ in ICW and was working like W3L and all the kids camps as like, look, I'm a big guy. He is the better in-ring performer. He's more athletic and more rounded. And I'm glad that we got to see
Yeah.
a bit of it in this match, and it was a really good heel-face dynamic. Joe Coffey lurking around outside, causing the distraction.
Yeah, and to your point there as well, it was nice to see him come out to a different theme to Joe Coffey, so he's not just
Yeah.
the other Joe Coffey. I mean, I know the crowd chanted, "You're just a shit Joe Coffey" or something along those lines, but it's nice that he's being presented as a separate character, not just another Joe Coffey.
Yeah, it was good to see the individualism, and the match itself provided for me as well. I really liked Flash's round the back Japanese arm drag, and what I appreciate even more
Yeah.
is I know that's what it's called because commentary did their job. It was superb. I say it time and time again.
It's a good
Nigel
comedy team.
McGuinness is the dog's bollocks.
Yeah,
Uh,
and he's not the most natural talker, but everything he says serves a
yeah,
purpose.
he's like Taz circa 2006, where he's there to tell you why moves are happening, which is great.
Yeah, except he won't DM you on Twitter if you criticize
You're
him.
getting DM now. Some of the other stuff I really appreciated in this match was the way that when Mark rolled to the outside to take a breather and Flash went for the suicide dive, Joe went onto the apron to stop it, allowing Mark to run
Yeah,
around and
There-
take
there was a,
advantage.
yeah, that running Hurricane Rana around the ring post was just a sight to behold. It was a lot of Joe Coffey interference, but I think the story of the match was basically, despite the interference, Webster can work his way around it and still provide that sort of signature offense
Yeah,
that
and
he
he
provides.
incorporated that. We saw the inverted 450 senton or 360 senton, the weird
Did we?
flip back split.
Yeah,
And then
I know what you mean. Yeah,
Webster picked up the win with a crucifix pin. Not sure I agree with that decision. It
Yeah.
does make the heels look a bit stupid, and although they got their heat back afterwards with a
Uh,
beatdown, which I can see that it makes both people look good, and early on I can understand that you'd want to do that. But I just feel like if these two
Yeah.
people, when it's effectively a 2-on-1 handicap match, although one of them's a manager in this case, if they can't beat one person that is significantly smaller than them,
yeah. Well, I think this match was definitely it served two purposes. One, to introduce the new character, which is Flash Morgan Webster, get him over and show the audience what he's about in ring, and then also to set up the post-match angle with Mark Andrews and Travis Banks coming in for the save and outnumbering
yeah,
the
my
heels.
main issue with the running, I didn't mention this to you because I wanted to save this complaint for when you could point out how petty it is on air. When the
Here we
running
go.
happened and Travis Banks and Mark Andrews came out, at the moment that the two of them were standing in the ring and Joe Coffey was there, every person that was not a competitor in that match was wearing the same NXT UK tour top. Why?
Yes.
Like, I get that. I assume it was because they didn't have their own full WWE approved merch in the same way Riddle had to wear his Mrs. Tights for a bit. But
Yeah,
it just
I
made them
guess,
all look
but,
like the
yeah.
same. They were
They
all
could've-
interchangeable. And also,
Yeah, I
why
get
if
that.
you're a heel, I don't get why you would wear you're meant to be like, I'm better than this place. It's a petty
I
visual
guess,
thing.
but that
but
would.
it's a podcast. The entire point of a
Yeah.
podcast is for petty people like me to have somewhere to say them.
Fair point. All right. So from that we go straight into Danny Burch versus Sam Gradwell. Gradwell, I'm not German. Sam Gradwell video package. Burch talks a lot about his experience. Then Gradwell, he drops the line, no, other people have been having 5-star matches, but I'm not here to have to be a fireworks display. I'm here to be a thunderstorm.
Great line.
Good line, but I don't think the delivery of Gradwell's promo was very good. Now, I know I've heard a lot of good things about him, namely from like Zach Gibson on Tuesday Night Jaw. He talks a lot about Sam Gradwell. Like, he's in the time of his career now where he's just waiting for something to click, and then once that thing clicks, then he'll be on to great things. But at the moment, he's very much developmental. I said the name of the podcast on the podcast.
See, when the actual UK tournament aired, I thought he was Zach Gibson. I got them mixed up all the time because they're bald.
Really?
But you can really tell from his second round loss to Pete Dunne to now, he's bulked up. They've made him a heel this time. Like, he was very much the heel in the Danny Burch match.
Yeah.
He was the bigger guy. He whipped out this lovely sit-out scoop power slam.
Yeah.
Commentary referred to it as a Falcon Arrow. I've watched it back. I couldn't see why it would be called a Falcon Arrow. It was definitely like almost like a modified Michinoku driver. Although I don't know, given the current news, if we're allowed to talk about Taka Michinoku. So we'll move on from him.
But with Sam Gradwell, though, it's nice that he's actually... Because in the inaugural tournament, he was, again, crowd christened creator wrestler. Because he just did a little bit of everything, whereas now he's starting to incorporate more power offense into his moveset.
Yeah,
and that's what he's focused on.
He was a very thin, sort of like no definition guy, whereas now he's bulky. He's got the weird almost mohawk thing, like the shave.
Yeah, he's starting to know his character,
and it's good. It's good to see that's happening. Danny Burch looked strong in here. I really liked the stiff uppercuts. I really appreciate Danny Burch's use of a legitimate fighting stance. Like, I know, like, he talks about the fact he did boxing for 10 years. He did boxing from when he was 6 to 16, so, like, the first 4 years of that were kid boxing, so it's not like, Baron Corbin Golden Glove level, but he still incorporates that right hand up at the ear, left fist down at the jaw, always. He was incorporating body shots. So really what I'm saying is Sam Gladwell got screwed because he should have won by DQ because Danny Burch was hitting with punches.
Oh god, that old argument.
Yeah. Danny Burch picked up the win with the...
Yeah.
What would you call it? Like the elevated impact DDT?
Pretty much, yeah. I'm going to call it the vintage Orton because that's what...
that's always called it. That's what it's called on 2K, so therefore...
Yeah. Good match. Definitely set up the promo after the match, which was fantastic. Danny Burch spoke from the heart about he's a proud Englishman to the it's coming home chance because this was like a week after the World Cup final.
Yeah, which didn't come home. Get it obvious.
Drops the amazing line when he after challenging Pete Dunne. He says, "You call yourself British Strong Style, mate? I was British Strong Style when you were still running around in a nappy with snot flowing down your face," which was a good line.
This is why you're here. Could you actually listen to the promo? I just went, wow, Danny Burch has a really nice voice. There's something about his Americanized London accent.
Yeah.
Although, one thing we did forget to mention in between the I'm not here to be a fireworks display, I'm here to be a thunderstorm promo and the end of this match, we did get a short hype video for Jinny.
Yeah, I was looking forward to talking about this. So, it's no secret, I am a massive fan of Jinny, right?
Yas Queen.
Yas Queen, very much Yas Queen. I now own the shirt. This vignette fit the character perfectly. It gives, like... They could have just shown, right, I am Jinny, I like fashion. But the basis of this promo was, no, I am Jinny, yes, I like fashion. But the reason I am a wrestler, or my motivations for wrestling, is because I think I'm above other people, and if other people don't present themselves as well as I think I do, then that's what makes me... that's what motivates me to beat them up.
See, I wish Jinny's character was real because a lot of British indies and the British indie wrestlers could really do like a smack over their face for their ring gear. Like, I swear to God, I don't understand how you can be a 15-year vet of the business, be getting booked to main events, and still wear generic gear that doesn't suit your character. Like, Mark Haskins can get away with a simple black outfit because he's just a fighter. It suits him.
He's a wrestler's wrestler, yeah.
But there's some people who are coming out with these flamboyant characters and you've had the same ring gear since 1992.
Yeah. But anyway, I can't wait for the world to be able to see like Jinny in the WWE setting. I know she's been on the Mae Young Classic, but she wasn't that heavily featured because
Yeah,
I
not
really
the
think
first
she's
time.
one of the I really think she is one of the most well-rounded characters in all of wrestling.
And speaking of well-rounded characters in the world of professional wrestling, after this we got a man that I'm very excited to see make his NXT UK full debut, and that
You
man is
tried, you tried really hard on that one, didn't you?
yeah, I did. That man is Jordan Devlin, who cut a heel promo, which wouldn't have surprised you because you'll have seen what his interactions were within the actual matches.
Yeah.
But for me, I assumed he'd be presented as face, but
Well, it's a weird one because in the inaugural tournament, he was presented as face, and then he cut open Danny Burch's ear, didn't he, in the first round match, which didn't go to plan. Ended the match earlier. Then it seemed as if he turned heel on the fly.
yeah, it
And
was
then,
almost as if he was told he had to. Because I think up until that point, Danny Burch was presented as heel because he was like the bar bruiser sort of guy.
yeah, I guess.
And then did Devlin not win by mistake in that match as a result of
Yeah,
Burch
it was like a
getting
spinning.
legit injured?
Yeah, it was like a spinning enziguri that cut his ear open,
Yeah.
and then the ref counted 3. But
The
yeah,
most
it was
interesting thing about this Jordan Devlin video, I don't know if you noticed who was getting pinned 1, 2, 3 in the mat in it.
Ooh, what was that?
Ennis McVeigh's favourite wrestler, Chuck Mambo, is now
Really?
officially on the WWE network.
Fantastic.
Um,
Oh,
I,
if only Innes was here.
I have written in my notes, give Jordan Devlin the belt as soon as Pete drops it. He
I'm
is
not totally against it.
on like in terms of on the British Indies, he is the next best overall wrestler that is currently affiliated with the WWE. Is the best way to say it.
Ooh, I don't know.
Because
That's a bold
I,
claim.
it can't flip flop back to Tyler Bate. Like at that point, the UK title just becomes Pete Dunne Tyler Bate.
It just depends what the story is in that circumstance.
Yeah, but even then, I think they need to give it to someone who is going to appeal to a new demographic, and British strong style appeal to one demographic. It's a big demographic because they're great, but there are people out there who maybe don't like them or just don't enjoy them.
Fair
So
enough,
if you put
yeah.
the belt back on Devlin, back on Bate, then you're not appealing to a new section of viewers. Whereas with Devlin, you can like the idea of like the hopefully NXT UK pay-per-view that happens at some point.
It's
You
got to be
know,
happening soon.
one of them down the line. And I was actually thinking about this for insert name of women wrestler who won the UK Women's title, who we're avoiding saying for spoilers. I thought that would be great if once Becky's done with being the best thing in WWE, they maybe give her a one-off title shot in NXT UK. And I was thinking, given Finn Balor's doing absolutely jack all, Jordan Devlin versus Finn Balor for the UK title on like a WWE UK pay-per-view.
Yeah, I'd love to see that, but of course that is fantasy booking. So
Yeah, well, the thing is, as you've always said, and I can't help but agree, right now Finn Balor is a poor man's Jordan Devlin.
yeah, I'd agree with that. You know, Devlin in the WWE setting tends to get the "you're just a shit" Finn Balor chance.
Or you've
Having
got a massive
seen,
head.
well, yeah, having seen his matches with the likes of Will Ospreay this year, I think at the moment Finn Balor's a shit Jordan Devlin.
Yeah, and there's nothing down to Finn Balor. It's down to
Oh, of
how they're
course.
being used.
Yeah.
Devlin's in
Yeah.
that environment where he's allowed to land a Spanish fly into a Spanish fly.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, it was a
Uh,
cocky, arrogant promo based on his in-ring ability more than anything, which is good. That's definitely what they should be aiming for, because he is so good in ring that's what the focal point of his character should be.
yes, gave the line that you're not in the United Kingdom, you're in the Kingdom of Devlin, which is great.
That is great. Yeah,
I think the import killer character would really, obviously it'd be called like the import beater because, you know, WWE.
guess.
Although Killer Kelly, so who knows.
Yeah.
But the idea that you could have him in and then with the title, all these like Americans who come from NXT to try and have a title shot on NXT UK, he would be the perfect like heel, you're just an import, or face, you're just an import character to beat them. So it's another. It's good that there's so many options right now who takes that belt. Not when Pete Dunne stops being interesting, because that won't happen. But when Pete Dunne gets called up, because that's the more likely thing.
Yeah. So yeah, Jordan Devlin's in action next week. Travis Banks versus Wolfgang is set for next week, and that leads us straight on to Zach Gibson versus Noam Dar in our main event. Gibson picked up the win with a Helter Skelter over Noam Dar.
Very long match.
Long match, which is good, I think. It was it was a good match. I think the general consensus seems to be that it was better live. I can certainly vouch for that, but it was still held up on the VOD, I'd say. What do you think?
Well, I think it had that classic issue that, obviously, as mentioned in our Progress Chapter 77 review, we saw Volta versus Zack Sabre Jr., a very British technical style mat wrestling match. And I feel like they always come across better live when you're encapsulated in the moment, rather than when you're at home and you have distractions, because if you look away for too long, you can get out of the flow. And because this match had a lot of that British Johnny Saint style mat wrestling, like Noam Dar did a lot of arm drags where he held the arm, and as did Zach, said really sensible ground and pound style wrestling.
Yeah. Kind of wrestling that requires a 100% concentration to watch.
Yeah, exactly. One of my main takeaways from the match, going down my notes here, are Nigel Guinness being asked by Vic Joseph why are they taking their shoes off, and why do they hate Zach Gibson, and he goes, "Oh, the shoes off thing's a British thing." And they don't like Zach Gibson because he's from a different part of the UK. At which point Nigel McGuinness just called half of the audience effectively racist. It was interesting wording.
A beautiful summary and a true summary of how the UK works, though, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely, you Welsh bastard. Shout out to the guy in the first row far right on the hard cam in the Drew Parker merch. I saw you. I like that. Good on you.
Fair enough.
My favourite spot of the match was the swinging release powerbomb off the apron onto the stage.
Onto the stage, yeah, that looked brutal.
Big bump for Dar, and then towards the end of the match, Dar goes for the double somp by the looks of it off the top, but lands on that surgically repaired knee and decides to take a lesson from the Seth Rollins school of knee injuries and suddenly start selling that knee.
Oh God!
Leading into the Helter Skelter, which they built up of. Obviously, Dar had not locked in the champagne super knee bar on Gibson earlier, so the fact he had the strength to hit the Helter Skelter on one leg, it was a good match. Kept Gibson looking strong.
Exactly. I think that's what the main purpose of the match was, and it definitely did that. Like, it's only a matter of time, really, since Gibson gets a title run.
Yeah.
I don't know what that title would be, but you'd assume the main UK title, but it's only a matter of time, isn't it?
And I think with Noam Dar coming off the back of 2 main event losses, it's going to add fuel fire to a plausible, you'll know through spoilers, but I don't, so a possible heel turn. Because he's been playing that tweener role, heel against Pete, face against Gibson, because just who he's been facing. He's looked strong in both matches, but not been able to do it. So maybe if he emerges as the leader of the crowd dubbed Scottish shit style, and then he can win the titles with Grado, and it all can be right.
Oh God,
because Scotland.
But yeah, decent episode overall. I think the storylines flowed nicely into next week, as they did from last week. Still introducing new characters like Flash Morgan Webster, showed what they're about again. That's obviously what their main aim is at this point of the show. No women's match this week, which was interesting. Only the Jinny vignette.
And no Eddie Dennis promo this week either, which was odd. It's not harmful, but when you're building someone like they were building Eddie, it's weird to take a week off. Like, as you can tell by the fact that, and we babble, that we're getting through this episode a lot quicker than the last ones, because it was aired as a double build special. It was edited differently, so I'm sure when we go back and watch the second part, you'll see that there's maybe 1 or 2 women's matches, or the Eddie Dennis vignettes there because it was meant to be viewed as one episode, whereas we've split into 2. So obviously the next part will be in the next podcast.
But I think the lack of an Eddie Dennis promo means the show appears less formulaic. I mean, you complained about
that's
video
very
packages.
True.
So it breaks up the formula, but I think a lack of a women's match can definitely become problematic in the long run if this becomes a mainstay. I don't think it will.
It just depends, obviously, because right now on NXT UK, they were building up to the women's tournament, which has happened. So without saying who wins that or anything, the NXT UK women's roster now that Nixon Yule, or we're going to call her Nixon Yule, Tegan Knox, is out injured for probably about 9 months to a year. Consists of
Tony Storm, who is also going to be on NXT, like Pete Dunne and that. So that's going to be very confusing for like tapings, because obviously she's now the number one contender after Kairi Sane. You've got Dakota Kai on and off once again, also in NXT. Then there's Jinny.
But the difference with Dakota Kai is they don't like with Dakota Kai and say Pete Dunne is that Dakota Kai doesn't really get used that much on NXT TV.
Yeah, of course. But then she still needs to, like, she's still based in Full Sail, so it's odd. And then Killer Kelly and Nina Samuels. I'm trying to think who else. Yeah, that's about it.
Pretty much everything covered. Yeah. Where can they find you on Twitter?
So you can follow me at Liam A. Stewart on Twitter. You can follow the brand at Develop Podcast. Where can they find you, Dai?
You can find me at Deiowen, that's at Deiowen, and you can find Innes McVeigh somewhere.
He gets to plug himself when he turns up.
One more question, the all-important question. Who should play us out this week?
We've already pre-decided it's going to be Danny Burch.
It can't be anyone.
Yeah, it's Danny Burch. Thank you guys very much for watching. I know it's been a slightly shorter episode than usual. You're probably overjoyed by that, but as a two-part special, we'll be dropping the second part of this episode, WWE NXT UK episode 4, very shortly. And tonight, episodes 5 and 6 air, taking us up to date with the end of the Cambridge tapings, I believe.
I think it's the last of the Cambridge tapings. It might even break into the Birmingham ones, but I don't think so.
So look forward to that. Please subscribe to us on iTunes, do all of that stuff, tell your friends about us. We're trying our best to keep growing and give you new content as much as we can. Thank you so much for joining. I've been Liam Stewart. He's been Dai Owen. Have a nice day.
Streets of London town. There's a war